Hey guys, so I don't expect anyone to watch this video all the way through. I mean, this isn't a BSJ pizza review or anything. I tried watching this and it gave me a headache, so that should tell you all you need to know, really. But even if you don't watch the video, if you enjoy anime, or even if you're somewhat a fan of the genre, you should check out these shows, especially the top three. These shows are really worth the watch and are gonna get big soon, so don't miss out while they're airing. And when they do get big, you can flex on everyone you already knew about them because you're subbed to it just in your taste. Okay, on to the video. Do you have a life? Do you have a job? Maybe a sport to play or an instrument to practice? Do you not have time to watch every new anime of this summer when 90% of them are probably going to be trash? Well, don't worry. I've taken the liberty of watching the first three episodes of almost every new anime this summer, and here are the ones to watch. The fragrant flower blooms with dignity is not exactly reinventing the romance anime wheel. If you like anime and you like romance anime specifically, it's probably worth checking out. I don't think it's quite as good as Alia Hides Her Feelings in Russian from last season, but it's something to watch. It makes the list on the technicality of being the best romance anime this season. I don't know if it quite holds up to the standards of, say, everything else on the list, but maybe you'd really enjoy this. Maybe I'm just pessimistic. But anyway, let's talk about the main character of this romance anime, Rintaro. Now, Rintaro is your one-of-the-mill, thug who secretly has a soft side. He works at his mother's bakery, and he goes to a school which is like the bad kids school for the bad kids, next to the good kids school for the good kids. And of course, he meets a girl in his mom's bakery from the good school. Now, it's almost comical how much the good school people hate the bad school people in this show, and the other way around. The bad kids hate the good kids too. It's almost taken to a ridiculous extreme how much they hate each other. It's really a bit overblown, but the whole show is a little silly, which I think actually is one of the good things about it. Now, admittedly, I think I've only watched 3 episodes of this show so far. I think there might be 6 or 7. Alright, pause. I think there might be 7 episodes out right now. But from what I've seen, it's pretty cute. You do actually want to see Rintaro and this girl get together. They do make, a believable couple. And it is pretty interesting seeing, his friends, his little friend group, react to him, whatever, dating the girl from the good school. You know how it goes. This is very, very run-of-the-mill. Nothing you haven't seen before. Worth checking out, though, if you're looking for, a turn-your-brain-off romance anime, if that's your kind of thing. I know 1 out of my 3 subscribers thinks Dulling in the Franxx is a good romance anime, so I mean, this is probably better than Dulling in the Franxx by a significant amount, so I'd check it out.
Are you still riding the hype train from Superman and Fantastic Four, and you just need more superhero content? Or maybe you loved My Hero, bless your soul, and you just need, just another superhero show just to scratch that itch, right? Well, To Be Hero X, number 4 on this list, might do just that. To Be Hero X is it's actually the only fully finished season of anime on this list. Full 24 episodes, I believe. I only got to 7 episodes in, but from what I've seen, it was pretty good. It's one of the many Chinese produced anime this season, so huge production value. There's a ton of great action. This is the most action-packed show on this list. It's super cool animation, a lot of great direction. Not so much in the character department. I think some of the characters lack, especially some of the MCs. You see, this show follows multiple different characters and has multiple different interconnecting stories. But from what I've seen, the first character is the most interesting, Linglin. So now Linglin he works in marketing at a superhero firm, writing ad campaigns and scripts for heroes, right? And he kind of gets beat up at work, like his boss kind of hates him because he sucks, whatever. Classic, like, down on his luck guy. And that all changes when he's taking a smoke break on the roof, and he watches one of the biggest heroes in the world die right in front of him, right? And so this is a turn of events. But what it all leads to is him having to impersonate this hero in the public, because he kind of looks like him, like they got the same hairstyle almost. So, the company forces him to adopt this guy's suit. He lives in this guy's superhero tower and has to pretend to be him, even like with this guy's romantic interest. He has to fill the role of the hero. And what's so cool about this show's power system is that it's based off people's belief, right? So the more people trust and believe in you, the more power you have, and the opposite's true for villains. Like, the more people that fear you, the stronger you are. Which, it's a little corny, a little silly, but they do some cool things with it later on. But right now, for him, since all these people believe that he's the hero, like this guy, he gets this guy's powers, and he like starts to look more like him. He adopts some of his like OCD, which is a really cool thing that they do. There's a ton of stuff like that in the show. Like, one great example is like a guy, everyone believes that he always stands up. Like, his whole thing is that he'll like stand up and fight no matter what. And they show this guy struggle, like he can't sleep, he can't eat, he has to do everything standing up, because that's how the power system works, right? Like, they do a great job of showing how the public's perception like shapes and alters heroes' personalities and lives, and that's where it stands out from a lot of the run-of-the-mill like superhero My Adventures with Superman garbage out there right now. This is doing something pretty interesting and pretty unique, especially if you don't mind some characters not being fully developed. I think this is a great one to check out. You might have a great time watching some of this art direction and some of these fights, because they're really spectacular. Like, right now the Chinese producers are like taking over the anime scene. I mean, just check out this action scene right here. I'm sure everyone that watches anime has heard of Lord of Mysteries, which is blowing up right now. That's not making the list. I watched like 3 episodes. Wasn't doing it for me. I'm sure it's really good. I'd say, to be her ex, much better show all around. Check it out.
So let's talk about Gachiakuta. This anime, I think one of the more shonen introductions this season, could be really big. I could see this being along the lines of like Kaiju number 8 last season. That's really the vibe I get from this. It reminds me of that a lot. The plot's pretty interesting, where we follow a boy named Rudo. And he lives in kind of the other side of this very nice, very clean, well-kept city. And he lives on like the... Oh god, I need to rewatch the entire show. Okay, so after skimming through the episodes again, because it has been like a week, basically, Rudo is a trash man. Not by trade, but by choice. He goes into the nice side of the city to collect the trash and leftover items left by the fancy, city folk. Because he believes that if you treat an item with care, then it'll have its own soul. Kind of like that one episode of One Piece where the ship, repairs itself. I don't know, it's ball knowledge. But this is important later on, so, keep that in mind. Now, like I said, Rudo lives in the slums, outside of the city. Originally, where they'd keep the criminals and misfits as a way to rehabilitate them. And now, next to the slums is the pit. And this is where the city people throw the really bad guys who commit more serious crimes. Now, Rudo lives with his uncle, because his father, of course, was thrown in the pit. And because his dad is a known murderer, Rudy's pretty ostracized in the slums. On top of that, he has terrible injuries on his arms and has to wear gloves. And what all this leads to is, of course, Rudy gets thrown in the pit, just like his father. And this is where the show really starts to pick up. Waking up in the pit, Rudy gets attacked by CGI trash monsters and gets saved by a cleaner named Edgy. And now the cleaners basically go around the pit using objects that they imbue with power, called vital instruments, to take care of trash monsters. And Rudy, of course, wanting to get revenge on all the people up on the surface, joins the cleaners in order to find a way back home. Now, there are only 3 episodes to this show so far, at least that I've seen. But this is definitely one to keep your eye on. Like I said, I think this could be one of the bigger shows to come out of this season, especially with its humor. I will say, I think the main selling point for this show is that a lot of the jokes land pretty well, actually. I think the characters are entertaining. I think Ruda is pretty entertaining. And I think this one is absolutely worth checking out.
Sorry for the complete microphone switch during the 3 and 2 spot here. I'm thinking this microphone sounds a little better. It doesn't peak quite as much, so this is going to be one I use from now on. Now, let's get into our number 2 spot on the list here, Secrets of the Silent Witch. This is definitely the most entertaining show of the summer. It doesn't quite hold up to the number 1 spot that we'll get to soon, but I had a great time watching this. This is I think maybe must check out for the season. So let's get into the plot. As you might have assumed from the title, this is about a witch, and a very silent witch at that. And the reason she is silent is because she's very shy. And that's pretty much the entire premise of the show. Shy witch, one of the best, if not the best witch in the entire country. And she's assigned to go to like a preppy elite high school and protect this prince slash student council president, Prince Charming type of character who has a bunch of political adversaries that are constantly trying to kill him at this high school, which makes for some pretty funny bits. But this is no surprise, because the entire show is really funny. I mean, especially like the MC, like the main character is so good in this show. She's really interesting. It seems like they're setting up reasons for like a traumatic backstory for why she's so shy, which I really appreciate. I like that it's not just like a gimmick, and it's cool to see her interact with like all the other students. They're like setting up potentially a romance. I'm not sure. There's only 4 episodes out right now, but the humor is funny. It does land. I would say this is probably the most like light-hearted entry on this list, while also having some pretty good action scenes. The magic and the power system in this show, it's not too fleshed out yet, but it is pretty cool. The main character does get the aura from quite a lot in some of these scenes, which is, it's entertaining. I like that kind of stuff. And it helps that the animation is pretty good, I will say, especially some of the action scenes with the magic. It looks really cool. It's actually pretty well done for a comedy like rom-com anime this season. But yeah, all in all, if you have the time, I would go and check this out. I highly recommend this one. This was pretty interesting. Even if you've seen a lot of like comedy anime, this one I think might have a lot to offer. And if they keep up with the quality of the first 4 episodes, definitely could still be talked about in a year or 2. This is certainly a relaxing anime to watch after you've finished the number 1 spot on this list, which will leave you traumatized. Well, that being said, let's get straight into the number 1 spot on this list. But briefly, trigger warning, this show deals with a lot of heavy themes such as like suicide, depression, and like child abuse, which can be a lot. The show really is has something to say, and it's not afraid to say it. With that out of the way, let's talk about Tokapi's Original Sin. Now, this is, without a doubt, in my opinion, the number 1 anime of the summer. This is something I could see being talked about like 5 years down the road as a masterpiece. This is going to be really good. If they keep up the potential they have right now, this could really be something special. Now, my word alone might not be enough to make you just stop the video and go watch it, so let's go into the plot here. This show is about an alien named Tapoki coming down to Earth with the express goal of spreading happiness. That's like, no, it's evil, no crazy stuff. They play it really straight. They're this alien trying to spread happiness. So she comes down to the Earth, or he, or I don't know. It's an alien. They come down to Earth, and they land in like the worst town anyone has ever been to in their entire life. Like every adult in this town is a fucking terrible person. It's bad. It's really bad. But not to get into too much, I don't want to talk about important plot beats or characters, because this is something you really need to go in fresh and blind. This is so worth watching. But yeah, there's some heavy themes. Bad stuff happens to kids in this show quite often, which if that's something you don't like watching, maybe this isn't for you. But it definitely has something to say. There's a message here, and it helps that it's being seen through the eyes of Tapoki, because Tapoki is new to Earth, doesn't really understand a lot of the human interaction going on, and so you get to see these events through a very earnest, almost childlike viewpoint, where Tapoki sees people getting hurt and sees people suffering, and is learning what that means and how to manage that and how to help people, which is really poignant but also very meaningful, and it makes for some really heartbreaking and interesting scenes. Now, admittedly, this show is a little hard to follow. It does deal with some time skips, and keep in mind when you're watching the show, all of the events might not be exactly in chronological order. However, it is absolutely worth piecing it all together. This is a must-watch, not even for the summer, not for the season, but I think of all time. If this show keeps up the direction it's going, it could be amazing. Well, that's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed. For my 4 subscribers, if anyone actually made it to the end of this video, first of all, I'm sorry. And also, I appreciate you. Shout out, leave a like, maybe. Leave some support, maybe even a comment if you feel like it. I hope this wasn't too cringy. I hope the microphone quality wasn't that bad. I know I'm trying a lot of different things, figuring it out. I think I got it down for the next video though. So, thanks for watching. Check out some of these anime. They're pretty good. If you've seen everything else, these aren't bad. Check them out. Alright, bye.